Hello and welcome to this week's QuickBooks Enterprise Deep Dive webinar. We're going to be going over attachments today, and as always, thank you for joining us. This gives us the opportunity to go over in a more in-depth way some of the features, both new and old, some that we find that are underutilized, so you can see how you might implement and use those in your company or even with your clients. My name is Kat Roskoviks, and we're going to go ahead and get started here. So again, we're going to be going through attachments today. So first, we're going to start by defining those. We're going to look at the document center. I also have a couple of screenshots from the QuickBooks Desktop app, and I'm also going to be talking through some use cases. So we'll go ahead and get started here. All right, so I've just got a QuickBooks Enterprise sample company file open. I am in the 24 accountant version, so the biggest difference is I've got this accountant menu here. Might look a little bit different if you are not in the accountant version, but everything else should be, for the most part, pretty much the same. So what are attached documents? So when we talk about that, if you've ever worked in QuickBooks Desktop, you'll see this little paperclip icon here. You'll see that on lists. You'll also see that on transactions. And what this means is it's just giving me the opportunity to attach any sort of backup to a specific transaction or even a list entry. So, you know, a lot of times in the past, right, people have a lot of paper files. If they need to go back and look something up, like, oh, hey, I want, you know, the backup documentation for this bill or that bill or what have you, they're having to go back and dig through a bunch of paper files to find that. This process helps to eliminate that, you know, time-consuming ordeal by just allowing you to have one or multiple files attached to transactions or list entries. There is not in QuickBooks Desktop a limit on what type of files you can attach, and there's also not a limit on the size of the file that you can attach, but you have to make sure that obviously you have enough space on the server wherever your QuickBooks file is stored. And most of the time, what people are attaching is, you know, Word documents, PDFs, Excel files, you know, maybe some, I've had clients that recently were attaching, you know, the email Outlook file types. That is fine for desktop. There are definitely limitations on those things for QuickBooks Online. So QuickBooks Desktop allows you to attach more things and also larger things to their with their attached documents feature. So we're going to go ahead and pull up the document center here. So I'm just going to go to company, and I'm just going to go to documents, and I'm going to go to document center. Now, one question that we do get quite often is, you know, is using, you know, I'm concerned about my company file size. Is using attached documents going to increase my company file size, because that's already a concern? And the answer is no. When that document is attached to, again, a transaction or list entry inside of QuickBooks, it's not stored in the actual QuickBooks data file itself. What is stored in that data file is just a link to where that document is stored in an attached documents folder. So if I pull this up here, this attached folder is actually where the attached documents, once you upload them and attach them to, again, a transaction or list entry in QuickBooks, it basically just puts a copy of that here. So that folder is completely outside of your QuickBooks company file. So you don't have to worry about it increasing the file size, because all that's going to be in that file is just a link to the location of that attached document. If you do move your company file from one server to another, again, because that's outside, you also want to make sure that you are, you know, backing up or zipping that folder and moving that as well. That's something that we do work to help clients if they're moving from, you know, a local server to Skyline or something along those lines. renaming company files, right? You just want to be careful with that because that link can get broken. Inside of this attached documents folder here, you'll see subfolders for your separate QuickBooks company files. So if you have multiple files that are in the same location, so multiple company files, like I've got sample consulting business and I've got new 2025 test company file, I'm going to see folders in here for those company files that will correlate to their specific name. So I don't have any attachments for that consulting test file. If I did, I'd see a folder in here for that as well. So to that end, if you had one document that you were trying to share across multiple company files, you would have to attach it inside of each one of those files. And then let's say I had 4 company files and I wanted that document in each one, that document would exist in each of those 4 company file attachment folders, if that makes sense. So let me go back here. I'm going to pull up, getting back to our document center. So you can add documents from your computer, right? So if I wanted to just upload a document here, I can do that. I can also add documents from my mobile, and we're going to go through that in just a second. And then if I wanted to, you know, remove a file from here, I could. If I uploaded the same one twice as an example for some reason, I could delete that. I can also, let's just go to my customer list here. And I'm just going to pick on one. Once I have it in that document center, I can pick which one I want to attach and use that one for that specific record. And so then it will, my window might be a little bit messed up here. There we go. I was looking for that detach button. So once I do that, it's going to attach that file to that specific record. And then you can see that little paperclip icon turned into what looks like a paperclip with a file now. So if another user were to come in and look at that ABC company, they can see that there is an attached document. I've also added that attached column to my customer list here by going to customize columns. So I've got that attached so I can see quickly which customers have an attached document. I can also sort by that. So that's kind of a quick and easy way to do that. Again, you can have multiple files attached as well. So if I wanted to pick another one or add another one rather, I'm just going to pick this guy here. So I can have multiple, and again, whenever somebody comes in and looks at that customer record, if they click on that, it's going to show them any of those attached documents. So you can browse from your desktop, right? So if you get attachments via PDF sent to your email, you can just grab those attachments, stick them in a folder on your desktop, and drag and drop them from there as well. So that makes it a little bit easier to get them in. And then, you know, you can kind of go through and clean up that document center as you have time, or, you know, if you just know you want it to be there at some point, you're going to have a transaction or customer that relates to it at a later date. You know, some tips would just be making sure that whatever you name it is going to be a little bit more obvious. But as you can see, when you click on it, it will open up that document, whatever it is, so you can quickly look at it that way as well. Now, let's see here. So for the QuickBooks Desktop app, so let me go ahead and pull up my screenshots for that. So first off, we've got, so I have an iPhone, so I just searched in the App Store for QuickBooks Desktop. It looks like this. There is also a QuickBooks Online app. That is not the one that you want. You want this one, that's the QuickBooks Desktop app. And then once you have that, you log in using your Intuit account. So if you have multiple company files that are, you know, connected to your Intuit account, which I definitely do, you pick which company file you're going to use. So I, in my case, selected this guy here. And then once you pick that, then you will see a screen that looks like this. You can also track vehicle mileage through this app. That's something that I believe I covered in a different webinar quite some time ago, but it is still in here. And then you can choose whether to upload a receipt, a bill, or a document. So with this screen, if you upload a document, it is going to go into that document center, which I'm going to show that in just a second. Whereas if we upload a receipt, which I did do that as well, it goes into a slightly different area, but it still will, help you get those documents into QuickBooks. So once I've got some test data already uploaded, so I'm going to go back to Documents in Document Center, and I can, right, these are the ones that are already in there, but I can say add document from mobile, and it's going to basically go and fetch any documents that were uploaded from a mobile device. So if you have other users that you just want them to be able to send data to QuickBooks, right, upload data, you as the admin user would be able to see all of the uploaded documents and decide what to do with them at that point. So it can kind of be a queue or holding space instead of everybody sending everything to you via email. So those are just some other ideas. So if I select this one here, I can see a picture of what that document is. And let me go back. If I click add, then it's going to go into our document center as well. And let me go ahead and go out here. So then that just basically moves them in. So there might be some that get sent there accidentally that don't actually need to make it all the way into the document center. So that's just another idea. So in here, right, I could pull up that attached document and I could enter in the information from that attached document. So I could drag this over, could actually go into QuickBooks and enter in the information from this file, and then attach this document to that actual transaction in QuickBooks. So to see that in action, I'm just going to come over here. I'm going to say vendors, vendor center. I'm going to enter a new bill. We're just going to say Ohio Edison. I'm just going to quick add them. I'm going to pick the date from my bill, which I can see because I have that attached document pulled up on my other screen. Whatever the reference number is, I'm just going to say it's July 2025. The total amount and utilities. And then I'm going to say save. And then I'm just going to attach a file, again, going to that document center. And you can see those other ones that I've already attached aren't showing up in here because they've already kind of been associated with a transaction or list. So this is just kind of like a work queue also, if you will. So I'm just going to pick one of those and I'm going to say attach and done. And then that will attach that here. Going back to our document center, they're always going to be listed here. And then it shows you what exactly it was attached to. So I attached these to ABC Company in my customer list. I also have attached this one to that bill for Ohio Edison on 7/8. So it's giving me some more information there. Let's see here. We talked about mobile, talked about adding them from your computer. So if you remember when I showed that screen at the beginning for the app itself, There is also the option to snap a copy of like a receipt and send that up. So to get to those areas, if I go to vendors and I go to receipt management, again, it's going to fetch out and look for what data is already there. There is also the option to email receipts. So if you're one of those people that gets a lot of PDFs or pictures sent to you directly via email, if you have users email those receipts in, then those will show up here and then you can deal with them at that point. So from this option, I can review it, and it is going to try to pull any information that it can from that receipt. So it's grabbing the date. We can see there, it might be kind of small. Let me go ahead and zoom in on that a little bit. So it's going to try to use OCR to kind of read that information. So it's grabbing 5/16/25. It is also grabbing the bank card, but since I don't have that 1009 not set up, it's not giving the option, but I can pick that there. It is pulling in the date. It is also pulling in the total, but that is without the tip, so I'm going to adjust that. I don't have classes set up in this file. It is pulling in the vendor, but maybe I don't want to have every single restaurant in my vendor list. And I'm going to also pick meals down here. And you can see that it also has whatever the memo is. When you snap a picture of that receipt, you can type in on your phone a memo that kind of gives a description. So right here, I just have lunch with ABC company client, and I'm gonna, if I had a job set up for them, I could pick that job as well. So I'm gonna say save and add to register. Again, it's not finding restaurant in my vendor list, so I'm gonna go ahead and create that vendor. And then that pulls it out of here. Now, if I go look in my chart of accounts and I look at my bank account, I've got that entered in here. And then it also magically attaches a copy of that receipt. So if at some point I wanted to go back and look at that, we can see that receipt straight from here. All right, so let's talk about a few use cases. So you saw that I could attach in my customer center, right, documents to the customer record specifically. So one thing that I have seen attached here is, you know, if I have particular contracts that are associated with certain jobs, I've seen clients use that to that attached documents feature to house those. I've also seen for any of my wholesale or retail clients, we've utilized this attached documents to attach any sort of sales tax exemption certificates that they may have been keeping on a file elsewhere. That also makes it super easy to, again, add that attached document column and sort by that so you can see who maybe you don't have that for. Maybe less used, but also something that is relatively easy to do, and also is just something you have to kind of think about. But I have had clients that use the attached documents feature on the vendor side to attach copies of their vendors' W-9 forms. The thing to be careful of with that is, of course, if you have any sole proprietors or LLCs, they may have their social security number on that form, so you just want to be aware of that. And then, of course, their tax ID number will be there as well. But again, at 1099 year-end time, it's an easy way to go through and see who you need, you know, starting in November and not waiting until January 30th. So that's another example on the names side. There are also some examples on the transaction side. So if I was creating a purchase order and I had that purchase order saved in QuickBooks and I got some sort of an acknowledgement or something back from my vendor, I might want to attach that document here. right, onto that purchase order. So just make sure everybody knows, yep, this went to the vendor. They acknowledged that they got the order. We should be all set. If you create estimates for your clients or projects and you want to attach copies of accepted proposals, that's another example of something that you could use. And probably the biggest thing, I do work with quite a few nonprofit clients, and because of their annual audits at year end, almost always, they are asked to generate just a general ledger report for the previous fiscal year. On that general ledger report, their auditors will pick 10, 15, 20, however many transactions from a specific account and say, hey, I need to see the backup for this. So it's very easy in here. If I go to, let's see, company and financial, just go here, I'm gonna go to general ledger and I'll just say all. So if I was to give this to, right, my auditors and they said, hey, I need to see the backup for this, right? This $200 that came out of our bank account. I could easily double click into that transaction, grab that attached file, open it, save it down to even my local, just to have it all in one pretty little package for them, and then send that off. So that just makes it super easy instead of having to go through a bunch of filing cabinets, tracking down stuff that maybe you don't have the backup for during audit. Definitely highly recommend using that attached documents feature for them. All right, so I think I have covered everything that I wanted to go through today. Thank you so much, and I hope you have a fantastic rest of your day.